What is going on, guys? We are back. And it is good to be back. And we are still following the same Delta 154 that we followed right up to the runway at the Boston. And I said at the time he was using that Delta call sign that does indeed do a Boston to Dublin real world. And that's the same call sign I used for last year's flight. So I'm pretty sure he's gone to Dublin too. But yeah, we've been following him pretty much the whole way here. We're still on the eastern edge of Nat Track X-Ray. We're still with Shanwick Radio. We haven't been handed back over to domestic yet. We've actually got one more position report to make with Shanwick coming up here in just a few minutes. In fact, 4920 north at 1641 is what the FMC shows over there on the far right, but you'll notice it shows the current time is 1631, and current time is actually 1633 Zulu, so it's about 2 minutes offset, and I've been just mentally adding those 2 minutes into my position reports when I've remembered. So we got just about 10 minutes before we need to make that last position report to Shanwick Oceanic. Al South MIA is here. Hello, Al. Al, are you flying today? This really isn't your thing. You're kind of more of a GA guy, if I got you right. But yeah, man, this is a good trip. I always enjoyed doing it. Really relatively few errors. It's a crazy event. Yeah, it is. As a matter of fact, that's what it looks like right now. And it's actually, I believe, a record-breaking, monitoring on VATSIM says Al, record-breaking event, I believe. 1,771 total connections to the network just at this moment, which I believe it's definitely a record for the new audio system, which has held up beautifully as far as I can tell. But I believe it is also a record for the network as a whole. I'm not 100% certain about that. I've been trying to look through the VATSIM staff discords to get those numbers, but I'm certain that it's a AFV record, and I'm pretty sure that it's a network record at large. So it's crazy. Yeah, so we're this one up here, Shamwick 36 Whiskey, and I'm still in the process of training myself to listen for that call sign, so I'm sure I've missed more than a couple of calls. Fortunately on Oceanic, you're mostly calling them. They're not usually calling you. Al says, I'm totally blown away by the sheer number of pilots. Yes, this is a mob scene, dude. This is, I mean, visibly busier than the last few that I've seen. Voice system, as you guys can hear, still cranking away, and the little bit of monitoring I've done on the VATSIM staff servers and the voice beta testing servers on Discord has suggested that the voice server is holding up beautifully. There have been relatively few issues. Ken Pryor's back, says, I'm back, did you miss me? Absolutely, Ken, I missed all of you. I wanted to yammer on with you the entire time, but I figured it wouldn't make for a very entertaining stream once I got about 8 Red Bulls in. Here comes number 9. No, I'm kidding. This is, I think this is number 4. Hey, look, I got my little Streamlabs timed, now it's going to just fire all of them off. Okay, so, okay. Well, I still got to figure out how to set those up properly. But, yeah, you get some little announcements coming up from the Streamlabs chatbot, so I'm still tinkering with those settings. I was messing with those a little bit while we were off, so. Anyway, so I've got those timings staggered now, so you'll see them at irregular intervals. So hopefully that'll help not have them all come up at once. From here on out, at least. But anyway, so yeah, we're coming up on that 4920. And that's going to be our last Oceanic position report. Bedra is the point at which we will pass back into domestic Shannon control over here in Ireland. And at that point, we're pretty much going to start our descent because it's not too much further after that. I need a couple 24 packs of Red Bull to stay awake, says Al. Yeah, no, I didn't quite go through that much. But here's the route. I showed you this at the beginning, and I guess it's more appropriate to put it on an IFR, although it's just prettier. It's prettier on the VFR. So it's a more southerly track than I would have expected, but again, the event organizers here have to kind of figure out how to share these net tracks with, all 700 or 800 pilots that are participating. So the routing's not always the most ideal. But we're coming into Dublin, I guess, from this southern routing here. So there's Nasba. So yeah, here's our exit point, Bedra. After Bedra, we're Nasba, and then we're coming up into this point, Bibla, and then Bund is here south of the airport. From Bund, it's only another 50 miles, so I presume we're actually going to start our descent well before Bund. Probably about 50 miles before Bund. We don't yet know the arrival runway at Dublin, so we don't yet know which star. I've got it programmed in the FMC just as it's shown here for the moment. Right there to Bund. Is that a low point? It's not even, okay, yeah, it's on the low chart, it's not on the high chart. That's odd. But anyway, that's on the border of the control zone for Dublin. And so that's the point that our star, our standard terminal arrival, will take us in from. But we won't be assigned that until we know which arrival runway we're going to be using. So all those things are still kind of left floating in the FMC. We'll have to make some adjustments in the program route once we get that information. Al says I'll need some serious VATSIM training for next year. I want to be part of that event. Well, Al, here's the other thing I've been tinkering around with. I'm going to pop this exclamation point VATSIM into the chat and see what happens. Oh, wait a minute. Wrong one. That's the one I meant to do. So, of course, that's the one I recommend that you check out. And they do have an oceanic training that I largely wrote. They've made a few updates to it since I stepped down from that, but the oceanic training there is very, very good in my opinion, my humble opinion. And I think next month it's going to be released so that any of the star subscribers, monthly or yearly star subscribers, will have access to it regardless of what ratings they've completed. Because it's not associated with a pilot rating on the network. They never did come around and do that. So the training is available really to anyone, regardless of rating, and then they're gonna put that out to any of the subscription members. I think probably sometime next month. But anyway, yeah. So we've been tinkering with the little exclamation commands there for the bot. We even did some more tweaking to it while we were off for those couple of hours. It's still a work in progress, very much so. Hang on a second. Still very much a work in progress, but try to add some new features to the stream, keep it exciting and interesting, as to the best of my limited ability to do so. Alright, so just about coming up.
Yeah, I can't take position reports from the future.
Yeah, the interaction on this on Shamrock Radio has been fantastic. A lot of fun. The controller's having a good time. The pilots are all generally pretty good. There's been a few guys that were the rest of us were kind of helping along. I'm kind of sad that I missed those interactions, but it's been a good one. Everyone's been real friendly, not too much frustration. Everyone's really kind of taken things in stride. It's been good. Technically, it's been very, very good. The issues have all been kind of human factors things that are caused by the massive high workloads that this event generates. So, everyone's been real understanding with that. But technically speaking, voice system drops, I think I've only experienced one. I did get dropped from the network server one time, but was able to reconnect in both instances right away. So, it's been going fantastically. Now, of course, I'm on FSX today, not on X-Plane. So I'm using vPilot, which is a pretty well-established pilot client, although it did just receive its update for the new voice system. But the client itself has been around for quite a while now, 7 or 8 years maybe, if I remember. So maybe not that long, 6 years. FSX plane, says Bear Aviation. No, it is not. It is just the run-of-the-mill 2006 Microsoft Flight Simulator version number 10. Yeah, I can't run the airliners in X-plane. That's just too much horsepower for my little hamster contraption here to run. So we do the airliner flying. Rare as it is, we do it on the X-plane. We do it on FSX. The other thing is when the frame rates do bog down in FSX, you still get the correct forward ground speed. So it gets choppy, but it doesn't slow down your sim rate and hold up traffic behind you. So it's a little safer, although it still kind of looks terrible, but it's not as detrimental to the rest of the event. And just to explain that further, when X-plane starts rendering fewer than 20 frames per second, it actually time warps time proportionally. So if you're only getting 15 frames per second, you're actually running at 75% sim rate, whether you like it or not. And when you're supposed to be getting 140 knots over the ground and you're only getting 105, that's screwing things up for the guy behind you in line. So but yeah, FSX is a little less resource heavy, and of course it doesn't look as nice, but seems to do the job as far as getting this across the pond today. And like I said, it's been pretty wonderful. All right, it's about time. Yeah, we did cross that waypoint just seconds ago, so let's go ahead and check in. Shamrock Radio, Shamrock 36 Whiskey with a position report. So Bear Aviation says, if I remember, in the X-Pilot video you produced, would this type of trip be where one wants to fill in the cell cow box? Yes. As a matter of fact, it was a Shamrock 46 Whiskey. Correction, 36 Whiskey. I'm sorry, sir, was that a go ahead? I didn't hear it if you said go ahead or not. Okay. So yeah, CellCal is something where the oceanic controllers can basically send you a page, so that if you have all this static going on, and the static that you're hearing over the pilot client right now is not as bad as the real HF radios. Real HF radios are really, really staticky and crackly, and they don't always squelch real well, so you kind of hear that static non-stop in some cases. So the CellCal allows you to put the headset down and be paged if they need to talk to you. Now, the CellCal code that was issued to us, we figured out was invalid, so it wasn't working. But it's not actually a valid code. So they've got some issues with the assignments of those that they did. Usually I use CRAB, Charlie Romeo Alpha Bravo, just because I'm a Marylander and I like to be true to that. Downwind Sim is here, says, we're still flying. Good afternoon. Yep, the flight is going well, man. Just kind of waiting for them to get back to me for this position report. The flight's going really well. Very, very few technical issues and just a few human factors ones because of the heavy workload. Other than that, it's pretty much gone swimmingly. And swimmingly not in the literal sense, thank God. Shamrock 36 Whiskey, we passed 4920 at 1642. We're flight level 380, Mach decimal 85. Next is Bedra at 1705 Zulu. Read back correct, 36 Whiskey. Yeah, swimmingly. And the funny thing is, man, I didn't even mean it that way. Sometimes I catch my own puns after the fact. Oh my God, the furry pilots are going ape shit because the pizza that Mrs. Slant ordered is presumably here. So she'll be bringing that down for me in just a bit, I'm sure. After we get the requisite first aid for the delivery man. Yeah, but the flight's gone really, really well. The audio system sounds great. Haven't had but a couple of minor disconnects with it. We were able to jump right back on in both cases. And yeah, and I believe, from what I understand, this is shattering all previous VATSIM records for simultaneous connections. Let's just get a quick update. Almost 1,800. Got 3 shy. 3 people jump online real quick. We want to hit 1,800, man. Look at the very bottom middle of that VATSPY window. 1,797 total connections to the network right now. I'm almost certain. I know that's a record for the voice system, but I'm thinking it's also a record for the network at large. So that is awesome, though. The tracks are solid, yeah, man. And if you look at the spacing, I mean, they're really doing a good job. Of course, some of these are looking like they're overlapping because they're at different altitudes, but I mean, the tracks are pretty good, man. Pretty good. We got some friends following behind us. We got Delta 487, which I believe is Agent Bravo 7. Yep. We got United 441. That's 757 Spy. We got JDI 69. I believe that's the Spartan. Yep. Who we got up here? We had one more up here. Yeah, I believe that is Lifesaver. Lifesaver with a 3 instead of an E. Yep. So we got a bunch of friends going over with us. I don't see Dane Flats. Dane Flats maybe hasn't gotten up yet. I thought he was doing this thing. You could walk across the plains, says Downwind Sim. Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, it's a pretty serious flow there. Amazing. And these guys are doing such a good job. And if you didn't catch what I had said from the outset, this guy Delta 154, we followed him out to runway 33 left at Boston, and here we are still tagging along like his little sidekick. So, how do you expect him to handle the arrivals? Asks Downwind Sim. If the planes come off of the tracks spaced out properly, there shouldn't be too many holds. We'll see how that goes. There might be, I mean, we'll have to be ready for it, that's for sure. There are a couple of pre-programmed holds that you have to kind of be ready for. A couple of pre-programmed holds that you have to be ready for. Are we close enough to... Are we close enough to Dublin to get... Alright, sit tight for one moment, guys. Alright, lunch has arrived. Ground Point Niners here. What's going on, AJ? Yeah. Going pro, going pro. Oh, we got some opposing traffic here. We got some opposite direction traffic. See if we can say hi to them as they pass by. Oops. I gotta remember if I can remember how. Yeah, and don't pick on me. We're showing as a United, even though we're logged on as a Shamrock. I explained that at the beginning of the first stream, that there's just too many for configurations and settings and stuff that I have to get right in order to not screw up my autopilot. And I just didn't want to take any chances that I would not be able to fly this thing the way I wanted to. So I picked a delivery that I knew I had set up properly. But since we're logged on as EIN 36 Whiskey, we should be showing up to everybody else. Well, it's not opposite direction traffic, is it? It's just the contrail coming in from a plane that just came into drawing range, I guess. Alright, let's get back in the airplane. So yeah, if the spacing's done right, they shouldn't have to do too much as far as holds, but there are some holds that we'll have to be ready for. We're not in range of ATIS at Dublin just yet. But we don't know which star we're going to be on, but we'll have to look. Now I do have the Navigraph app ready to go here. We've got, got the Navigraph app, so we know we're coming to, which one are we coming to? Bund or Boond. So which one of these we take depends on, it's dependent upon which runway they're going to be arriving at. But let's say it's this one. We go Boond, and then Durham, and then Kepper, and then Arvak, and then this hold here at Soren. We'll have to be ready to enter that hold unless we're told otherwise. And that's kind of the way these work. You always want to always enter the holds until you're told not to. So the Soren will be a merge point, and then once we're cleared past that, we would go to Peacock, and then Sivna. Peacock's the one south and east of it. But from Soren we go to Sivna, and then Sopep, and then Lapmo, and then we're into our approach to that west-facing runway. But all the stars are going to have this hold somewhere along the route, and it's basically where the merge point is from more than one arrival stream. So you just have to be ready to enter those holds until you're told not to. So we'll just make sure when we set up the star, we got to set up that FMC correctly, so that when we get to that point, we're ready to enter the hold, or we'll enter it manually when we get to that point, one way or the other. We can start to see our arrival airport in the FMC. Let's do this. Let's go to the fixed page, EIDW, and we can set up a 4-mile ring and a 10-mile ring. That's going to give us some cues as to when we should be configuring and then fully configured for landing. So you can see those green rings now appear around the airport. ETA to exit the track is, let's see, we can get back to the progress page. Let's go back to the legs page because this is the next point. Bedra, 90 miles away. So that should be happening at 17:04, so that's 10 minutes to exit the track. $32.55 is what I think I just heard.
That's fine. It's something weird that
I think you said 32.55. I'm going to kind of double check that in my vPilot list here. 31.55. I might not be in range with me yet, but I should be coming up on it because I'm almost out of that track. Now, if it's a coupled frequency, if it's cross-coupled, I might not see it. It's EIDW center here, 2917. So we'll listen out. We'll see what they say. I'm not quite completely sure. Cross-coupled frequencies, I know they don't show up in that vPilot list just yet. It's a quirk of the new voice system that they don't quite have elegantly solved. But at any rate, we should be coming up real soon on this exit point here. 69 miles. Got the lunch going on down here. I'll try not to be too obnoxious as I do that. Take a quick break and munch on some hot pizza before it becomes cold pizza. Bear with me 1 second, guys.
Speedbird 69, are you with me? Confirm Speedbird 69 with me? Lufthansa 151, confirm you have a position report. Lufthansa 151, yes sir, we do. You ready to copy? Actually, Lufthansa 151, at Vedra, call 1 till 2.55 over you. Can you say the frequency again for 151? At Vedra, 1 till 5.6. Okay, at Vedra 135.6, you guys are doing a great job, and we'll see ya. Lufthansa 151. See ya, break. Lufthansa 42, Foxtrot, you still with me?
So we got a couple different frequencies there. We'll see. We'll have to see which one we get, I guess. So the last one he gave, the second time, 35.6. Is that on our list? Let's check that out.
FSX 223, hello. The Lufthansa contact?
35. No, that one's not on our list either. So we'll just, whatever frequency we're given, we'll take it on faith that it's going to be there. And with the map starting to show all the way to our destination, I'm going to knock the range down just 1 notch there. Every time the map starts to get a little cluttered, I'll knock the map range down 1 notch. No, you say again. Oh, you know what? One thing I meant to do. We were playing around earlier. We'd added some of those chatbot commands, and I meant to add one. Meant to add one to petition for that Red Bull sponsorship. I've been saying that for 1.5 years now, that they need to really get on board with this thing. As much free advertising as I give them. So that was one that I didn't add. I did add a couple more from the morning when our Stratman was putting in every command that I didn't think of. Still 31 miles from Vedra, so I'm not going to pester him about it yet. He should be handing me off here any moment. And pretty much everything that happens to Delta 154 is going to happen to us next. That's been an all-day thing. Fuel's still looking good. No warning messages. Yeah, everything's going pretty well here. I hope I'm not jinxing it, but at this point, if I jinx it, it'll all be in fun. Something goes horribly wrong at this point, I still had a pretty good day. I did have what almost looked like it was going to be a sim crash. It froze for about 15 seconds and then came back. That was while I was off stream. And so I almost flipped the computer desk over and walked away, but held my breath for just the right amount of time and came right on back. 35.6 is what 54 was just given. So we'll sit tight. You may give that to us next. Yeah, one thing you guys notice possibly is that my yoke, my virtual yoke here, is rock steady right now. And that's one of the options that I have to set in the PMDG in order for it not to knock my autopilot off every time I try to engage it. You know that my controls are really, really jittery. And they're jittery enough that the PMDG will interpret those jitters as attempts at autopilot override. So you got to go through, and there's 30 pages of menus for setting up the PMDG, and you got to go through and find the one that disables that autopilot override. And every time I try to do a flight in the 747 under a different livery, I have to. I find out the hard way that the options you set in one don't always transfer over. They almost don't. They don't ever transfer over. So you have to set those every time you change planes. I think there's a way to copy them or whatever, but I don't fly it enough to worry about that. So, but anyway, so I figured just to be on the safe side, we'd fly the United since I knew I had it set up. And like I said, how I appear to others is more about the call sign that I'm logged into the network with, which, as you can see here, is this Shamrock EIN Echo India November 36 Whiskey. Speaking of 36 Whiskey, I think I should call in. I think I just passed over Bedra. As soon as he's done figuring out who's with him. Let's take an inventory. Shamrock 36 Whiskey crossing Bedra. $32.55 Shamrock 36 Whiskey. All right, $32.55. So I got thrown off here. $32.55. And again, you don't get that reassuring beep to know that you've dialed an appropriate frequency. You just got to give it a shot. Shannon Radio, Shamrock 36 Whiskey is level at 380. If we don't get an answer here, I'm going to try that other one that he was giving out, 36.5. Shannon Radio, Shamrock 36 Whiskey. Yeah, 36.5. I'm going to give that one a try. That's the one he gave the Delta that's right in front of us. Or 36. Yeah, 36.5. We'll try it. Now I have no idea. Shannon Radio, Shamrock 36 Whiskey. Alright, on VATSPY there's a 3522. So I'll try that. What was the name of that point that we crossed? Bedra. Shannon Radio, Shamrock 36 Whiskey, level of 380, approaching NASBA. Just trying to find the right frequency. Yeah. 6272, Shamrock 36 Whiskey. I guess I got it. Well, hopefully we are in the process now being radar identified.
Good afternoon, American 728, flight up 370, just left answer. American 728, Shannon, good evening, to identify, continue today. Continued no locks, American 728. Very good.
Got a nice good block tone there. You guys are hearing that, hopefully.
We were 288, I heard, identifying directing to right 288. One second, at then Gisela? Oh, Bisla. 288, thank you. Hey, Richard North. No, let's not do that. Good evening, American 222, double with you, flight level 350. American 222, Shannon,
ATC is a little on the quiet side. All right, we'll bump it up a little bit. Hopefully that's a little better. I do want it to be a little lower, but I want it to be audible for sure.
UPS 278, contact London 126.075 away. 126.007, UPS 278.
Better, okay.
94, contact London 126.075 away. Speedbird 14 Kilo.
Still waiting for that radar identification. Fingers crossed. And the beautiful thing is,
German Air 48, confirm next
when we started this thing, it was sunrise, and it's starting to become dusk here.
Roger, direct make at German Air 48.
Al says, in the VATSIM network, they talk about having a slot for flying on the event. Is that the same thing as making a reservation? Yeah, it's a booked departure time, so they try and prioritize you as far as when you're requesting clearance. This morning that went horribly wrong for me, but yeah, that's neither here nor there. It's basically a means of metering how much traffic there is in the event, so that they can make sure that it's a level of traffic that they can accommodate on the routes and at the airports. So when you're flying non-event, they're basically trying to work you into the spaces that happen when the event traffic does or doesn't happen at the scheduled time. Gavin's Needy says, what should I get for a sim setup, joystick or yoke, and what type? Gavin's Needy, that's like walking into the Best Buy and saying, hey, I need a TV, what do you recommend? You could spend $15 or you could spend $1,500. It depends on what you're trying to do. If you're just getting started in the hobby, what I recommend is just buy a really inexpensive joystick with a bunch of buttons on it and a throttle and maybe a couple of other levers and switches. The one that I recommend is called the Extreme 3D Pro. You can get it for about $20 to $25, and it's got a twist axis, so you can control the rudder without having separate pedals, and it's got a little throttle on it and a bunch of buttons, a little hat switch, so it's got plenty of controls to have at your fingertips, but pretty inexpensive. Once you get further in, yeah, X52 also a very good one. It's a little bit more expensive, but if you're sure you're going to be involved in the hobby for a little bit, it's not a bad investment to make. But yeah, if you're just getting started and you want to keep your investments to a minimum until you're really sure that you're going to be into it, then yeah, any kind of reasonable joystick that's got a lot of buttons and controls on it will be absolutely adequate. Once you get in, I would say you probably want a set of rudder pedals at some point, but that's once you're sure that you're going to, really be involved in the hobby. Shannon, Shamrock 3-6 Whiskey, just making sure you did get us identified, sir.
Shamrock 3-6 Whiskey, continue to bonnet, no expected bonnet.
Okay, bunted and the bunted 1 Lima for Shamrock 3-6 Whiskey, thanks. Alright, there we go. So now, first of all, we know how they pronounce that, bunted. Bunted 1 Lima. Let's go ahead and get that programmed in. Bunted 1 Lima means they are landing what direction? Let's see. Let's get the chart in front of us. Navigraph. Let's see if we can. I don't know how to make that wider. 1 Romeo. 1 Romeo.